Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Michael here. Lately, the Australian stock market has gotten extremely competitive, especially over the last few years, with more people investing than ever before, causing investment levels hitting constant new record highs. And with more people caring about their money, this has basically meant that the competitive landscape for companies willing to help people invest their money has also gotten a lot more fierce as well. If you actually asked me at the start of 2020 which broker you should use to purchase Australian stocks on the ASX, I would always recommend SelfWealth as the clear-cut choice, and it was always super easy for me to recommend them. However, it seems in less than 2 years that there has been an implosion of new ASX brokers who have entered the space with very attractive offerings. Now, if you're actually not looking for a broker just quite yet and you're just starting out, check out my video first on how to start investing in ETFs in Australia for a step-by-step guide on how to get started. However, in this video, what I will cover is what I think are the top 5 best ASX brokers in terms of cost and affordability available in Australia currently, and how they actually compare to each other across 8 main factors. These factors beginning with number 1, brokerage. We obviously want to have a super low cost whenever we're buying and selling shares. Whatever the minimum investment amount is to get started using that investment platform, whether or not it supports US shares or not, what its CHESS status is, whether or not it supports instant deposits, whether it has any account keeping fees, whether it supports market orders and limit orders, and to cap it off, what the actual mobile app experience is like when using the product. And at the end of the video, I'll make sure to provide what I think are the best low-cost brokers out of this list to use depending on your preferences and needs, because they're all a little bit different, and depending on what your preferences are, the best one for you might change a little bit. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to do a deep dive into any of these investing platforms, as I'll try to keep this comparison pretty high level and objective without going to any of the kind of finer features of each broker, which might be a bit more subjective. Now, before I dive into this list, I just want to quickly touch on chess and why it's important. And I'm not talking about the oldest game in the world, I'm talking about chess sponsorship in regards to your shares, as it's actually a pretty important concept to get across and is a very unique thing to the Australian stock market. Established over 25 years ago, CHESS, which stands for Clearinghouse Electronic Sub-Register System, is a computer system used by the ASX for share settlements and registrations. CHESS has a few main functions. Firstly, to facilitate share trading settlements, and CHESS usually settles a trade 3 days after a buyer and seller agree to trade by arranging the transfer of money between the buyer and the seller. And it also helps transfer legal ownership of the shares at the same time. The next thing it helps to do is it helps register share ownership. CHESS is also a sub-register that the ASX maintains, which keeps track of who owns what shares. It's basically like a ledger keeping track of every single share in the ASX and who is entitled to that share. And in terms of what it actually means to be CHESS sponsored, which you might hear quite a lot throughout this video and elsewhere as well, if your shares are CHESS sponsored, it means when you buy shares, the ASX has a record of you directly owning those shares. And here's how it works in a nutshell. When you choose a broker whose shares are CHESS sponsored, the broker will issue you a holder identification number, also known as a HIN. And when you buy shares, they will be assigned to you via your HIN, and a statement will be sent to your registered address. You'll notice that you get a lot of letters basically in the mail, which can be quite annoying, but they're helpful. You can actually have multiple HINs at multiple online brokers, and you can move your HIN and the shares assigned to it from one broker to another really easily. And there's a number of advantages to having CHESS sponsored shares. Because your shares are tied to your HIN and therefore to your name and tax file number, CHESS actually acts as a third-party verification that you own the shares directly as opposed to someone else holding them on your behalf. And then also, rather than having shares in different companies spread across several sub-registers, your entire portfolio can be registered under one single HIN, which makes it possible to track down all of your holdings really easily. Lastly, if you actually need to update any of your personal information, such as your name, address, tax file number, you can update this with your CHESS sponsored holding once, rather than having to notify several sub-registers. So having said that, it is actually possible to trade non-CHESS sponsored shares via other brokers. And the way it works is shares purchased via a custodial broker which includes brokers such as robo-advisors or micro-investing apps, actually operate under a custodial model, meaning they hold the shares on your behalf, so not actually in your name. And while many of these brokers have been around for a long time and are trusted by investors around the world and in Australia, it is important for investors to do their own research and understand what would happen if the broker were to go under. In addition, if you own shares via a custodial broker, you might miss out on things like voting rights and dividend reinvestment plans. Now, if you're like me and are a massive fan of the Chess sponsorship model, smash that like button for Chess and also the YouTube algorithm. Now, with that out of the way, let's get on to the first broker, which is SelfWealth. SelfWealth was established in Australia by Andrew Ward in 2012 as a fintech startup that offered a low-cost alternative to the established brokers like CommSec, for example. And their philosophy was, by using modern technology and a minimalist online-only service, they were able to offer an industry-leading flat fee brokerage cost regardless of the size of the trade, which actually made SelfWealth a pretty powerful disruptor in the stockbroker industry at the time. Now, just going through the features, in terms of brokerage, SelfWealth has a flat fee regardless of the size of the trade of $9.50. Super simple and very low cost, especially when the average cost of most established brokers is around sort of $20. The minimum investment amount on SelfWealth is $500 for your initial investment. From there on, there is no minimum trade value. You just need to have enough to cover both the share cost plus the brokerage cost of $9.50. So SelfWealth does support US share trading now, a recent addition to their feature list, at the cost of $9.50 in US dollars brokerage per trade. You'll also be charged a currency conversion fee of 0.6% when you convert from USD to AUD and vice versa. So not that cheap, and I'd probably just stick to getting US shares via Australian ETFs on the ASX if you can. But if you really want to hold specific US shares, well, you'll at least have that option with SelfWealth. SelfWealth is Chess sponsored, and you will get to use your own HIN and be the official registered holder for all shares used in SelfWealth, other than those US shares, which obviously don't have a Chess system over there. Probably one of the most annoying things about SelfWealth is that it still doesn't support any form of instant deposits like PayID. The best you can hope for is next day if you BPay early in the day, which can be quite frustrating if you want to make an urgent trade. But for most people who are investing for the long term, this really shouldn't be a massive problem as you aren't really day trading. In terms of fees, the standard SelfWealth account doesn't have any account keeping fees. There is, however, a premium option that costs $20 a month, but it really isn't necessary to get and frankly isn't worth it. SelfWealth does support both market orders and limit orders. If you aren't sure what a market order or limit order is, basically, when you place a market order, you don't select a price and the order will just be made at whatever the lowest current sell price is at the time. Whereas with a limit order, you select a specific price and orders will only be executed if there is someone willing to sell you a share for that price. And in terms of the SelfWealth mobile app, it is pretty average. Not great, not bad, easy enough to place orders and do what you need to do, but there is a lot of what I would call sort of random unnecessary features like the wealth check score, which seems kind of arbitrary and just not that helpful. But for buying and selling trades, it's very easy to use, and they've got a live data feed when you're at the buy-sell screen, so that is also a bonus. So in my opinion, SelfWealth is a great way for Aussies to buy shares. The $9.50 flat fee brokerage with Chess sponsorship, and it's sort of just general no fuss, no frills approach makes it a pretty great choice for most people who are trading on the ASX. And even though it might take a while for transfers to go through because of the no instant deposits, it's still a small price to pay for such cheap brokerage with the comfort of a company that's been around for a while now with a good track record. If you want to sign up to SelfWealth, I will leave a link below where you can get 5 free trades. Now, next up is Superhero. So Superhero Trading is one of the newest ASX brokers available in Australia, having only launched in September 2020, offering a industry-leading $5 brokerage per trade and a minimum trade amount of only $100. You'll see most conventional brokers have a minimum of around $500. So like I just mentioned, Superhero has a brokerage fee of $5 per trade, flat rate. But for all ASX ETFs, there's actually $0 of brokerage, which is pretty unprecedented and quite amazing. And also, like I just mentioned, the minimum investment amount to start trading is $100. Now for US shares, Superhero actually supports US share trading now with very competitive costs. $0 brokerage for all trades, so just like stake, but unlike stake, they've only got a 0.5% currency conversion fee, which is both lower than stake and SelfWealth. So that's all great, but the one area where Superhero really does lack is in the chess sponsorship area, where they don't actually do any chess sponsorship and you don't get your own HIN. But this is also the reason how they're able to offer such low fees and minimum investment amounts. Essentially, Superhero uses that custodian model, which I was talking about earlier in the video. And this means that shares bought on Superhero are actually only beneficially held in your name, but not actually registered in your name, like they would be if they were chess sponsored under your own HIN. According to Superhero CEO John Winters, in an interview, he said that the custody model still uses the chess system. However, it utilizes a single HIN on ASX's chess system that all users share. Superhero's tech consolidates settlements at the end of the trading day to reduce costs, and that's how they're able to pass on those really low brokerage costs essentially to you. So the thing to consider is if something ever happened to Superhero or one of the external suppliers they work with, it would potentially impact your investments because those investments are not actually registered as owned by yourself. Now on instant deposits, Superhero does actually support Pay ID, which is awesome. It means that you're able to instantly deposit funds into your account, and it's a super handy feature. Combined with the low brokerage makes Superhero very, very easy to use. And on the fee front, Superhero has no account keeping fees, keeping with the low cost theme of this comparison review. So Superhero currently supports both market orders and limit orders, which makes it great to use and very flexible. And in terms of the mobile app experience, Superhero's mobile trading app is super simple to use and very Robinhood-esque, which is a very popular US share trading platform and probably the most popular one in the world. You can easily go to your dashboard in Superhero to see an overview of your portfolio, navigate to the Invest tab, which is where you buy and sell. You can easily view your trading activity, keep tabs on your brokerage account balance through the wallet, and view your profile and reports to track performance and any tax liabilities. So overall, Superhero provides all the tools you need to make share investments and put your money to work very easily and at a super low cost. You can start investing with only $100 and it's super accessible as all the deposits are instant and the costs are really low, with the one downside being the no chess sponsorship. Next up is ThinkMarkets, which is one you might not have heard of before, but they've actually been around since 2010. So they originally started out with a CFD product, and ThinkMarkets launched their ASX share broker product in 2020. And to just cut to the chase, the brokerage for ThinkMarkets is $8 for trades up to 200,000 and 0.05% of the trade value for amounts over 200,000. So really this is an effective rate of $8 a trade, as the majority of us will not be making trades of over 200 grand. And if you were in the scenario of where you might need to do that, you could just break up your trades into parcels of 200 grand, which would make it more cost effective than 0.05%, as that would actually be $100 when you're looking at a value of 200,000. In terms of the minimum investment amount for ThinkMarkets, the amount is $500 for your initial investment. Otherwise, you need to just have at least the value of the share you are trying to trade plus the brokerage. At the moment, you can't actually trade any US shares via the ThinkMarkets share trading platform. It's ASX only. They do have a CFD product like I mentioned, but I would not recommend using that. ThinkMarkets does actually support your own HIN and fully sponsored chess holdings, which makes it quite secure. And the ThinkMarkets share trading platform actually has a deposit method for instant transfers, which is pretty cool. It doesn't use Pay ID, it actually uses this third-party transfer service called Poly, which has been around for a while and might have been something you've used previously. And Poly supports instant deposits for up to $50,000 a deposit. And there are no account keeping fees or sign-up fees for creating an account with the ThinkMarkets share trading platform on the ASX. In terms of orders, ThinkMarkets supports both market orders and limit orders, allowing you to choose the exact price you would like to buy or sell if needed. And then finally, in terms of the mobile app for ThinkMarkets, the app is actually pretty comprehensive in terms of features. It allows you to easily buy and sell shares and it also has some fairly sophisticated charting analysis you can do within the app itself. However, it isn't the easiest app to use and doesn't have the nicest interface when compared to something like Superhero or Stake. But again, it's usable and will get the job done for what you need to do. Overall, ThinkMarkets actually has a really great offering with low cost brokerage of only $8 a trade, with the added security of having your own CHESS sponsored HIN. So you really can't go wrong here. So next up is Perla, which is a brand new product that only launched at the start of 2021 and offers a range of features that are really tailored for users who are interested in long-term investing and financial independence. They've got some pretty unique automated investing tools, which are really useful, specifically their auto invest feature and their auto deposit feature. So to get stuck into it, in terms of brokerage, the costs for Perla are $9.50 a trade across the board, with the added benefit of free brokerage on select ETFs if you hold them for over a year. The way this works is if you buy one of these special ETFs, you don't pay any brokerage up front, but if you choose to sell some within the year, you have to pay both the buy and sell cost, so $19, $9.50 times 2. And currently there's actually a list of over 45 ETFs that have this free brokerage from ETF managers, eInvest, ETF Securities, and VanEck. And if you're interested in some VanEck ETFs to consider investing in, check out my video on what I think are some great VanEck ETFs to watch out for. So there's actually no minimum investment amount on Perla, which is fantastic for people who would like to get their feet wet with investing. From their website, you can read, Perla has no minimum order size. However, customers should consider the fact that with our $9.50 flat brokerage fee, that the smaller an order is, the higher proportion you'll be paying in fees with respect to the total investment value. So this is actually a really great call out in terms of brokerage as a percentage of your trade by Perla, as typically you would want to keep this under sort of 1% per trade, which would require you to have a trade size of around $1,000 when using Perla at $9.50 brokerage. One downside to Perla is that you cannot currently purchase any US listed shares directly through Perla. However, like any other ASX broker, you can purchase ETFs that may hold US shares in them if you would like to get international exposure. And one of the great things about Perla is that all holdings in your account are CHESS sponsored with your own HIN. When registering an account with Perla, you can actually choose to create a new HIN or transfer your own existing one along with all of the holdings associated with that HIN. Now with deposits, this is actually where Perla gets a little bit interesting and is a little bit different. There isn't actually a way to self-transfer funds directly into Perla. The only way is to enable direct debit on one of your accounts, and it isn't instant. In my own experience, it took around 3 days for the direct debit to go through. This kind of makes sense though, given that Perla is marketed towards long-term investors who wouldn't have as much need for instant deposits, but it is potentially something they might consider adding in the future. And in terms of fees, there are currently no account keeping fees or sign up fees with Perla, keeping with the theme of low cost for sure. So Perla actually supports both market orders and limit orders. However, there isn't any live pricing within Perla itself to see buy and sell orders. You can only see a market price, which makes it very difficult to actually place limit orders with just Perla. And you'll need access to another service that will provide live buy and sell trade feeds. Another thing to note for Perla, which makes it a little bit different, is that there actually isn't any mobile app currently. However, the website is very easy to use and does work well on mobile. And there's also a lot of additional features like I mentioned before, like auto investing and auto depositing based off your portfolio. And they've actually got a feature where you can actually follow other Perla profiles that are public. If you want to follow my profile, I'll leave a link below. So overall, Perla is really a great new entrant in the low-cost broker space in Australia and is actually offering some unique features that make it stand out from the crowd. Whilst it isn't actually the cheapest in any single area, it does make up for it with those features, and it is still a low-cost option with the added benefit of CHESS sponsorship. If you do want to check out Perla and sign up, I'd appreciate it if you use my referral link, which I'll leave a link to below, where you'll actually get a free trade. So last but not least, we have OpenTrader, which has been around since 2014. OpenTrader is actually a joint venture between OpenMarkets, one of Australia's largest retail stockbrokers, and TradeFloor, Australia's leading technology provider of derivatives, risk management software, and trading platforms. Interestingly, OpenMarkets actually provides the stock brokerage and clearing technology behind a lot of well-known investing platforms like SelfWealth and Raise, for example. Now, the brokerage fees for OpenTrader actually start at $5 for trades up to $5,000, $10 for trades from $5,000 to $10,000, $15 for trades from $10,000 to $15,000, and then 0.1% of the trade value for any amounts over $15,000. If you look at it though, this is actually basically a rate of 0.1% across the board of the trade value as a base case scenario if you're trading at the upper echelon of each brokerage fee range, which is what you should be doing. OpenTrader, like many other brokers on this list, has a minimum investment amount of $500. The minimum buy order of $500 is required for new securities in your portfolio. Unless you already own $500 worth of that particular stock, then you can just purchase a single unit of that share, which would be the cost of whatever the share is at the time. Currently, you cannot trade any US listed shares directly through OpenTrader, which makes it a little bit less flexible than some of the other options on this list. However, all holdings in your OpenTrader account are CHESS sponsored with your own individual HIN, which makes it very secure. In terms of deposits, there is no functionality in OpenTrader for instant deposits through either PayID or Poly like some of the others on the list. The only way to deposit funds is through bank transfers, and this usually takes around 2 to 3 business days to process. There are no account keeping fees or sign up fees with OpenTrader. Again, very straightforward in terms of features and fees here. And then in terms of market and limit orders, currently there's actually only stop limit orders and limit orders available through OpenTrader. Strangely, there doesn't seem to be a way to do market orders, but I suppose for most people who are just going to use limit orders, this isn't really a big issue. And at the moment, there is no OpenTrader mobile app, but again, I have found their website quite usable, and it also works well on mobile. There are currently a number of features in OpenTrader like custom dashboards, price alerts, and charting that makes it stand out from the other low-cost options in this comparison review. In conclusion, I think OpenTrader is an easy-to-use platform that has a place in the market for secured CHESS-sponsored trading for users who are just sort of starting out and are typically doing trades under $5,000. But if you're looking at trading frequently for more than $5,000, it really does make more sense to use one of the other brokers in this list, as then the OpenTrader brokerage becomes $10. Now, to round up all the brokers in this list and share what I think is probably the best low-cost brokers to use depending on your situation, there is definitely some clear-cut winners from the list for specific use cases, which I'm going to highlight now. In terms of the best and most affordable ASX broker in Australia, if you don't care about CHESS, it's clearly Superhero. With the lowest flat rate brokerage of $5 and $0 brokerage on all ETFs, it's extremely competitive. If they were CHESS sponsored, they would be an absolute standout winner for the best broker in Australia. However, since they are not, you just need to consider the risks of no individual HIN if you want to use Superhero. And then in terms of the best and most affordable ASX broker in Australia, if you do care about CHESS, from a purely objective standpoint, the best broker here, I think, in terms of cost is probably ThinkMarkets, as it has an $8 brokerage, which is essentially flat rate. However, if you're actually buying a lot of ETFs from Pearler's free trade list and enjoy their automated investing features, well then they might actually come out on top here for you. Personally, I am mainly buying ETFs for long-term investing, so Pearler edges out on top for me here, even though their standard brokerage is $9.50 versus $8 of ThinkMarkets. If you actually would like to try out Pearler and get a free trade, I'd appreciate it if you used my referral link, which I'll leave below in the description. And I thought I would just add as a little tidbit that if you're actually trading for amounts under 5K, like I mentioned below, then the best platform to use here is OpenTrader, as they will only charge you $5 brokerage for trades up to $5,000. And they're CHESS sponsored. So there you have it, guys. Those are what I would consider the best and cheapest low-cost ASX brokers to use in Australia for share trading. I'm sure these will eventually be changing over time, but as of right now, these are the rankings based off their current pricing and feature sets. Let me know in the comments if you're using any of these platforms or if there's anything you think I might have missed, or even if you'd like me to do an in-depth review on any specific investment platform that I went over today. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys made it to the very end of the video and you haven't smashed that like button, please go ahead and give the video a like for the YouTube algorithm. It really does help me a lot. I post videos on investing, money, and personal finance, so if you want to stay tuned with what I post, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and bell to get notifications. Thank you again for watching, and until next time.